Anything you'd like to talk about, because I'm not asking you about it, but about Abby and Libby or their families or anything like that you really want me to get across?
You know, Rich, man, I hope everybody asks me that question, because that's why we do what we do, right? That's why you do what you do, it's why I do what I do. And that's why all of us have a little bit of piece of the puzzle here, or a piece of the pie or whatever. I want to meet with Mike and Becky and Anna, and I want to tell them we did it. That's what I want to tell them. We collectively did it.
It reminded me a little bit of how you post every day, even a couple hours ago, that today is the day. Meaning an investigator's wrong until he's right. Today is the day, eventually it will be the day. Has that been inspiring to other people? It's inspiring to me.
Well, every day, it's the hope every day. You get up and you think, that's how we have to look at it every day. Today could be the day. So I post that out there as a reminder that it's coming, and maybe today's the day.
Today could be the day. Sleep well.
It's just her, and the stuff all over her room, the mess, the Libby is still there. She had wanted to repaint her room. It was a lime green, and she wanted to paint it purple, and I kept saying, I don't have time right now. We'll get it painted. And finally she said, Grandma, just let me do it. She did a wonderful job. She had just finished painting it. Her paint can is still sitting there. One of the outlets doesn't have the cover on it because she didn't have it on yet, and we left it that way. That's how it was left.
Divers with Indiana State Police have been scouring the Wabash River bed here in Peru, but ISP won't say what the divers are looking for.
Have no clue what's going on, but kind of curious. They must be looking for something.
Whatever investigators are looking for, they're preparing for the long haul.
And that 5-week search of the Wabash River in Miami County.
Tonight, police confirmed that the search is over, but the big question still looms. Is it connected to the murders of Abby and Libby in Delphi? IT-Mate's Richard Essex is on the case for us again tonight.
A spokesperson for the Indiana State Police told me that the search of the Wabash River has concluded. This is the first time the state police has actually acknowledged that they were searching, but they wouldn't say what they were looking for.
the Klein lead is very much at the forefront here.
Newer stuff with the Kegan Klein. I mean, what was that like when it came out? Maybe you could just go through the whole situation if you can. I mean, whatever part you can talk about regarding the, out of nowhere, one day you hear about Anthony Schatz, but you did communicate with the Anthony Schatz account, according to documents now, like the same day she was missing, right?
I did. I spoke to him on Libby's social media.
Just texting though, right?
Just texting. And the conversation wasn't anything that sounded suspicious. It didn't bring anything back to me. So the conversation was short. We barely talked. And then when law enforcement said there's no social media, it just was pushed to the back of my mind, and I didn't think about it again until a few years later when the name was brought up to me again by law enforcement. And after that,
But at the time, do you think maybe you mentioned it to law enforcement somewhere in maybe a conversation, or was it just something where it didn't alarm you after communicating? Because it seemed like law enforcement was aware of this account almost immediately because they had to get a warrant, and then they were already over at Kegan Klein's house on the 23rd.
Well, I'm definitely going to say they probably knew about it because they had Libby's social media, and obviously he was on there. But from me, I didn't seem alarmed by it. Like, the conversation just wasn't
anything that I thought was to be worried about. So I was even less worried about it when law enforcement said there was no social media aspect.
Yeah, that's one of the sort of the, man, if you were going to get frustrated at one thing that they did, is like they, for years, told everybody that it wasn't, at least all the way up until 2000. No. They already said there was no social media. They've already looked at it all, right? So,
right, like they had looked into it as far as we knew, and that they didn't think there was any social media involvement. So we didn't think anything else of it, and we started looking down different avenues as a family, and all of a sudden, it was last year, right? Or was it this year?
It was like, I think it was December 2021. 2021,
they come back and say, hey, like, we're releasing this account. And I was sitting in this seat when my grandma called me. Law enforcement called me first, and my grandpa wasn't answering his phone, actually. So he called me and said, hey, Kelsey, we need to talk to your grandpa. And I'm like, it's 7:30 at night. What do you need to talk to my grandpa about that you can't tell me? And I don't think they wanted to tell me. I think they knew how devastated I was going to be. And it's easier to tell my grandpa things, I guess, to tell me or my grandma. So they talked to my grandpa, and my grandma calls me back.
And I just remember feeling so angry. I was sitting here and I was like, I remember that name. I know I talked to that person.
Anthony Schatz. Ever heard of him?
I wish.
Anthony Schatz. Ever heard of him?
I wish. New information to us as of last night, before everybody else, but still new information. I'm kind of torn. I would never want to think that social media was a connection in this, but also I do hope that there's a connection now.
I remember that name. I know I talked to that person.
I wish.
That night, and I didn't tell anyone because I didn't think it was important.
Tell me about this man who has been arrested, the creator of this profile, Keegan Klein.
All I can say about Keegan is that entire issue and the entire release has allowed us to glean significant investigative leads.
I remember that name. I know I talked to that person.
It's very, very dynamic. It hasn't slowed down too much over the course of these last few years, and I don't anticipate that it will. So everything is calculated. This has been a strategic process from the very beginning, and I completely support what the investigators have decided to do.
And now it would appear from some court documents revealed by the Murder Sheet podcast that perhaps Klein recently went on a road trip with Indiana State Troopers.
Court records unsealed this week showed that the prosecutor's office and Klein's attorney agreed for Indiana State Police to take temporary custody of Klein outside the jail. The judge granted that request Friday. We don't know why investigators wanted to meet with Klein or where they took him and what he may have told them or showed them.
Seems like a reasonable assumption would be that Kegan Klein made some sort of arrangement with representatives of the Indiana State Police to help provide some information about where some significant piece of evidence could be found.
I wish. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't think it was important.
Don't even know what the score is.
Is this for school or does she just enjoy?
I don't know if that's, it may have been for her reading points, but
Made sure they both had the sweatshirts that I told them to take, and I told Libby I loved her, and I watched them walk away.